All right, today we're tearing down a system for mastering social dynamics, and we're treating it like a science. This comes from a source that looks at getting good with women, or really getting good at anything, not as some kind of magic, but as a skill you can literally engineer. We're going to see how you can apply this exact framework to get better at pretty much anything you want, way faster than you thought possible. So, the whole thing kicks off with a question that, let's be real, we've all seen in action. You know those guys who spend years, literally years, going out, trying to improve at something? Maybe it's talking to women, maybe it's learning an instrument, and they just never get any better. They're stuck. But then you see these other guys who just seem to shoot up the skill ladder in like a few months. What is going on there? What's the difference?
Well, here's the core idea. The difference isn't talent, it's not luck, it is the method. See, the guys who stay stuck are just winging it. They're throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. But the guys who get good, and get good fast, they're methodical. They're running targeted, verifiable experiments on themselves. They aren't just improving, they're creating this insane upward spiral of progress. So let's break down exactly how they do it.
Okay, phase one. And right off the bat, it's not what you think. It's not about taking action, it's about getting laser focused. It all starts by setting a crystal clear intention. And trust me, this isn't just some motivational fluff. This is the absolute foundation for the entire system. First, you got to get this distinction between data and information. The source uses a great business example. A company making $1,000, that's just data. It's a number. But if you know their intention was to make 10 grand, suddenly that same data becomes powerful information. It tells you, Houston, we have a problem. It's the exact same for you. Getting a girl's number is just data. But if your intention is to get more dates and that number flakes, well, now that data is information. It's pointing a big red arrow at a broken part of your process. And that leads us to probably the most crucial concept in this whole thing, the sticking point. The idea here is to stop trying to improve a dozen things at once. You need to put a ruthless, almost obsessive focus on the one single bottleneck that's holding you back the most. Because fixing that one thing, that's what creates those huge, game-changing leaps in skill. So here's how you set up your experiment. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you isolate that one sticking point. Maybe you can open conversations all day, but you can never get past basic small talk. Okay, that's your sticking point. Second, you establish an honest, numerical baseline. And don't guess, man, actually track it. Out of every 10 girls you talk to, how many numbers do you get? And out of those numbers, how many actually turn into a date? Get the real cold, hard data. And third, based on that data, you form a simple, testable hypothesis. So instead of a lame goal, like, I want to get better, you get super specific. You create a concrete proposition, just like this one. Now, a time bridge in this context just means setting up the actual logistics for the date, like, hey, I'm free Thursday, let's grab a drink. Right there in the moment, instead of just grabbing a number and hoping for the best. So the hypothesis becomes, if I do this instead of that, then this result will be higher. See what just happened? A random high-pressure night out just turned into a focused, low-stakes scientific experiment. All right, so you've got your hypothesis. Now it's time to go into the lab, which is, the real world, and test it. This brings us to phase 2, and it's all about discipline. You have to collect and document your data because, let's be honest, your memory is not nearly as good as you think it is. And this right here, this is a massive mental unlock. You have to stop thinking of every interaction as some big performance where you have to be perfect. You're not there to succeed or fail. You are a scientist. You are just running an experiment to collect data for your hypothesis. This one shift in framing just totally kills the performance anxiety. It's a game changer. The number one tool for this is the field report. Seriously, think of it like your lab notebook for every single social experiment you run. It is so much more than a diary. It is the core discipline that forces you to be brutally honest with yourself and analyze what actually happened, not the convenience story you tell yourself later. And a source is super specific about what needs to go in this report. You log your experiment, the sticking point, what happened. But look at the crucial items here. You absolutely have to document anything that was unexpected and anything that went way better than you thought it would. So why is that? It's because those moments are pure gold. That's where your assumptions about how the world works just got body slammed by reality. And that gap, that's where all the real learning is hiding. Now, the source gives a really critical warning here. Do not try to cheat the system by just recording your conversations and transcribing them. That's a low-effort shortcut, and it's worthless. The real value isn't in having a perfect script. The value is in the high-effort mental act of active recall. It's like the difference between watching a video of someone lifting weights and actually getting under the bar yourself, forcing your brain to do the hard work of remembering, organizing, and writing down what happened. That is what forges the strong neural pathways that eventually become what everyone else calls natural intuition. Okay, so you've been in the field, you've run your experiments, you've got a stack of field reports filled with raw data. This brings us to phase 3, analysis. This is where you put on your detective hat, you pop open the hood, and you start looking for patterns and the insights that are going to completely obliterate your sticking points. The whole point of the analysis phase is to find these model-shaking moments. You're looking for the data points that make you sit back and go, wait a second, that's not supposed to happen. When reality slaps your expectations in the face, you've just struck gold. And the source gives a perfect case study of this with an experiment in extreme disagreement. So check this out. The experiment was to see if hardcore disagreement would just instantly kill an interaction. So the guy finds a topic she's super passionate about, college athletes getting paid, and he intentionally takes the opposite side. And for 20 straight minutes, they argue. It gets heated, it even gets personal. By any logical metric, this thing is a total train wreck. The interaction should be dead on arrival. But then, right at the peak of this argument, when attention is maxed out, he drops this line, and boom, mega atom bomb. Instead of blowing things up even more, it completely short-circuited the entire logical argument and instantly flipped the dynamic of the interaction on its head. This is the definition of a model-shaking event. And the result wasn't just a little better than he thought. He said it hit with 10 times the force he predicted. This one data point completely shattered his old model that said arguing is bad. What he discovered was a totally new principle. A state of high emotion, even negative emotion like anger, can massively amplify the impact of a well-timed sexual comment. He never, ever would have discovered that insight without this rigorous, methodical process. So how do you find these moments in your own data? Well, the system gives you a toolkit of deep analysis questions. You are not just casually rereading what happened. You are actively hunting for where you went wrong. Missed signals, bad timing, flawed assumptions. You're basically a programmer debugging your own social software, looking for the bugs in your code so you can patch them. So what's the end game? What's the payoff for all this work? It's a powerful, self-correcting feedback loop that just snowballs. You find a bottleneck, you run a targeted experiment, you analyze the raw, honest data, and you make a precise adjustment. Each cycle makes you sharper and more effective. And over time, all that conscious, clunky effort starts to sink in until it becomes a smooth, subconscious, and deeply ingrained skill. And the author is absolutely clear about this. This whole process isn't just an optional extra for bonus points. He is adamant. He says there is no way he could have reached an elite level without this hardcore, sophisticated level of analysis. He says this is the line in the sand. It's what separates the guys who just mess around for years and go nowhere from the guys who actually master the craft. So at the end of the day, yeah, the case study here is about dating, but these principles are universal. Identify your single biggest bottleneck, establish a real baseline, form a testable hypothesis, collect data with no ego, and then analyze it ruthlessly. So the final thought to leave you with is this. What's the biggest sticking point in your own life right now, in your career, your fitness, anything, that this exact method could help you solve?